Okay, thank you all for making it to another meeting of the Santa Barbara Real Estate Investor Association. We have more people coming in, hopefully, but even if they don't come in, we may be small in numbers locally, but we're really big on the internet, right? Because anybody can be big on the internet worldwide. And that's really what we want to do, is to be able to put your information out there, get access to different people that need your service and want your help. So, that's what we're doing here. So thank you for showing up. This is the Santa Barbara Real Estate Investor Association website, and the short version to get to it. And if you are a first-timer, you're in here free today, and that qualifies everybody here today for 30 days worth of training. So anytime you want to call me up and say, hey Dan, over the next 30 days, how do I do this, or how do I get in contact with them, or whatever, that training's free. After the 30 days, you have to start paying or come back to another meeting, bring another first-time guest, and it's free forever. You just keep doing that every time you want some more free training. Okay? So it's that easy. We've got all the meetings go up on YouTube, so we're putting this up on YouTube, and under the meetings menu here, you click on that and it shows you the date, which will take you to the web page, and it shows you the video, which will take you to the YouTube video. Okay? There's education, a lot of stuff on that website. And this is the YouTube page, so that's how you get there, YouTube/Dan Ringwald. And we got lots of videos, years of videos up there, and we have a lot of people that never even come to the meetings that find other really good speakers and really good material and programs that they have, that they sign up and they work with them and off they go. So this is really a good place to look at this, because you get to see 90 or 30 minutes of some speaker from 5 years back or currently. Well worth taking a look at. And meetup.com is a good place for you to sign up, because it's free, and that way people know who you are. They'll say, oh, I've got some service you might be interested in, because you put on that page what you're interested on, what services you might have to offer. So that's free. And of course we have everything but the wine, right? We gave up the wine, got too crazy. It was good, but we'll do that downstairs after the meeting. And then on the agenda, now I'd like to say that we had Bert Miller was going to be here and talk about rent to reward, basically from Memphis, Tennessee, and it's about rental properties and how to get involved with finding deals and doing all kinds of things. And if you go back, all the stuff that you see up here with the links on it are actually on the web page for this meeting. So if you go, wow, I'd like to know how to get back to that, just go to the web page for this meeting, click on it, it'll take you to the website of any of this information. And he paid $250 to show up and speak, and then called me up a couple weeks ago and said, Dan, I'm sorry I can't make it. And I said, I'm sorry too, I hope you come back again sometime. Unfortunately, it's not refundable, so you are the sponsor for this meeting. And I hope you do come back. So, and that's pretty much it on just about everything that we do. Once you pay, that's it. There's no real refunds. So I want you to be real clear on what you're spending your money on, and don't spend if you can't. That's why I'm making this free training and everything else. My whole mode is, I don't care how much money you've got. Money doesn't solve problems. People solve problems. And a lot of people take the money out of the stock market because they get disenchanted. Can't imagine why. And then they figure they're going to go make a lot of money in real estate and start throwing a bunch of money at it and lose. Because money doesn't solve problems, people do. So our whole mode is, I don't care how much money you've got, go in there like you're broke always and try to use somebody else's money, and let's figure out how we can do this to maximize your return on investment. Okay? So, we'll cover some of this stuff, and then we're going to have Sanjeev come up here and talk a little bit about the Model S Tesla that he is leasing. And Sanjeev's back here. Thank you so much, Sanjeev, for coming in to do that.
Sure.
What you'll see as we move forward in time is that most people are going to start leasing their cars, especially these electric cars, because the batteries, could go dead in a couple of years for whatever reason. And technology changes so fast and so much that you don't want to get stuck with a problem. In fact, that's why the Nissan Leaf is probably losing value the most of any car on the market right now, even though they're the #1 seller of electric cars. People don't want to get stuck with a problem. So we leased a Nissan Leaf, and then we just turned it back in for a Chevy Volt. I'm thrilled with that. I was thrilled with the Nissan Leaf, but I'm saying that leasing is really the best thing to do because eventually people won't even own a car. Most people. People will always own a car in some places for whatever reason, but it's going to get to the point where people pull up their cell phone, they'll say, hey, I need to ride from here to there. A car will come up that's autonomous with no driver, and off you'll go. And that sounds like 20 years down the road, but no, it could be 5 or 10. So get ready for this. It's changing really fast. Okay. Then we're going to have Ross Berman. Thank you, Ross. Yay! Ross really, bailed us out here today because the first person I had, as I mentioned, couldn't make it. So I scrambled and I got Stu, who's been here before talking. And Stu said, yeah, I'll do this. And he was all excited. And then he had an emergency and couldn't make it. And I went, oh, this was just a couple days ago. And I begged and pleaded, is there anybody else at SolarCity? And he goes, yes, I just happened to have Ross Berman. He called me up in 15 minutes and said, Dan, I'm your man. I'll be there. So thank you. It's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank me after.
No, that's thanking you for the effort.
They're really good. And, I did have somebody text me and say, well, I was going to come, but this is a repeat because you've already had this kind of meeting in the past. And my reply was, the Model T Ford was a great car, but the cars today are a lot different. And solar is a lot different as time moves on. And the laws for solar are different. And the laws for cars and everything is changing. So it's really about education. That's how you're going to figure out how to do the best for yourself. The best investment you can possibly make is you. And the only way you can do that is through education. So it's good. And also networking. You can't ask questions. Today you can ask Ross, and he's really hoping, and I tell the speakers, if you're going to come here and speak, please don't get up here and go, hold your questions to the very end, I'll get back to you, and then at the very end, I got to go, my plane's going to seal, and off they go. And I see this all the time. And I just tell them, hey, if you do that, we don't need you, they can watch a video. They need to be there.
Like that. Because you see a slide, you make a point, and as an audience participant, you forget. Maybe you forget, but let's engage on that point now, and it can be distracting if you have a lot of material or whatever, but I really like the discussion.
Somebody's question is somebody else's question too, and it makes a huge difference on developing relationships, because really, the only way you're going to do this business is through trust. And if you can't build a relationship and feel like you have some communication with somebody and some trust, you're just not going to deal with them. And for those that say, well, I've got way too much information to be doing that, you know what? We don't care about your information. We can watch it on video. We care about you. We want to develop a relationship. So you want to kind of take that with you wherever you go out into doing this kind of business, because it's building relationships. Okay? So, and then of course we'll have the end. And I'm going to start doing something I haven't done before, and that is a free table. So back in the corner over there on the right-hand side is a table. It says on there, anything on that table is free, take it.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. So you'll see some CDs, you'll see some training programs, you'll see a lot of advertising. Some people say, there is nothing on that table that I would throw in my trash can.
Just don't leave your phones on it or anything.
Exactly. Please don't do that. But, like they say, some people's trash is other people's treasure, and there may be some things back there that somebody will go, wow, this is just what I needed for this part of what I'm doing, okay? So I encourage anybody that might have some old real estate stuff that they want to get rid of in the future. Unfortunately, we can't bring in treats, cookies, and candy and stuff because Best Cargo goes, oh, no, that's our job, and we're going to charge you for that. But you can bring in some of this old real estate stuff that you want to clean the shelves with, because we always have new people that want to see some stuff, even if it's 3 or 4 or 5 years old. So I'm going to continue to do that. Okay. So.
Thank you.
Yes, and if you got any questions, please just stop me as we go through this. Okay. So let's go over some of this stuff. This is the Santa Barbara Real website. We talked about that a little bit. Free training. And, you know, actually for the people that live out of town, if you're looking at the video, it's a lot less expensive for you to pay when you see what the rates are to go to the website than it would be to fly to Santa Barbara, come to a meeting, pay $10, you know, spend the money at a hotel and food and everything else, and transportation. It is a write-off, and I would encourage you to, you know, to do that once in a while. But it certainly is less expensive just to do it virtually from your home. I don't care if you're in Florida, Kansas, whatever. It would be cheaper to do it than just pay for it. Okay? But for everybody that's local, you just bring a friend and you get to socialize. This is kind of like my social outlet. I love doing this once a month. NH Big, this is the wholesaling website. So this is all about earned income. So if you say, Dan, I want a $5 million property, I want to wholesale that, we can do that. You don't need any money out of your pocket. We got a deal coming on. As a matter of fact, we have Carlos here that's got a deal. And this is Carlos, okay, so same guy? Okay. So I'm going to have Carlos come up and talk about the deal that he's got right now, just so you can get kind of a sense of how these things work. Because he's working, if you want to bring the paper up with you, you could do that. Sure. And this will give you an idea. He's working with me now on this, and we're doing some training and working back and forth. So he came up with a deal. Just talk to him about what you got.
Okay, hi everyone. As Dan said, my name is Carlos. This is actually the first thing we've had under contract since I started working with Dan. We originally had it under contract in August for a higher price. I think the price was $156 or something like that. But eventually, you know, over time, the house isn't selling, no action going on, so the buyer was willing to drop it down to $135, which is now it's something, you know, most people can work with. So a little bit about the property. It's in Central California in Visalia, which is a small town of about 160,000 people. The property's the property's in a great location. It's right across the street from the community college, and it's also a block away from the main vein of the city, which is where there's dining, shopping, retail areas, all that. So if you guys are interested, you can come speak with me. I have flyers, and we can talk a little more about the property. Yeah. And the thing about this too is we had it under contract, you know, in August, but overall the relationship we built with the seller has been, you know, a positive experience just because we've built up rapport with him, and he's actually going to give us some referrals now too. So that's, you know, the biggest thing I like about that. Yeah.
You were saying that the property is close to Bakersfield?
Visalia. It's in Visalia, yeah. Which
how
is
close is that, and how many bedrooms is it?
close to Bakersfield.
Yes. How close is it?
It's about probably 55 miles north of Bakersfield,
Okay.
and it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said before, if you guys have questions, I'm at the table over here, and I've got flyers as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Now, Carlos has got some good IT experience as well, so he's really good on computers. And once he, you know, seals a deal, we're going to have him up here as an associate, so he'll start helping to train people, because that's really kind of what I want to do here is keep building these associates. And each time they end up closing a property, they become no longer just an associate, but a trainer. Okay, so they can take new people that are coming in and saying, hey, we need to build a team, so it'll help build his team, it'll help build other people's teams as they get into this if they want to do it. If you go to this website and click on his picture, you'll go right to that property and you can see all the details on that, okay? So one of the problems that we came up with was that, you know, the guy wants to sell, it was $135,000. So I said, well, you know, what's the difference in your loan? He said it's about $109,000, fixed rate, 4.75%. And I said, so we're talking about $25,000 you need to walk away with. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, what about this? What if we do a wrap, and then we just sell it on a wrap for 5 years? Excuse me, for 5 years. And so the people coming in really don't need to qualify for a loan at all. Okay, they just come in, take the loan, give you the 25,000. We work through a standard title company. We've got Chicago Title there. And given today's interest rates, they could actually go back within the 5-year period and refinance it into a 3% loan, which is possible to do today, or 3.5%. So they could do that. They can keep it as a rental. The loan actually is about 18 more years that it has on it. And Zillow, which you know, Zillow can be high, can be low, can be right on just by mistake, you know, it happens. It's about 148. It's showing in a year it'll go to 150 something, and if you look back 10 years, it was all the way up to 248. So I'm thinking that if the market keeps going the way it's going, because it's slowly coming up, it could get back to where it was 10 years ago, which means in 5 years you could conceivably have about 100,000 equity in the property. Personally, that's the point where I would sell it and get out and say, hey, you know, I did it. Because if you wait until the market goes back down again, there goes the equity. Now, if you want to hang on to it for 40 years, great. But that's kind of the game that you do with these properties as you're looking to build up equity. Take the cash out. When the market goes down, go back out and buy some more things at a lower price. Okay? So it's a long-term thing that you're doing. So, you know, talk to Carlos. And know that that's kind of what we're doing here with this business, and that's what you can be doing too. And the training is all free. This talks about what you get from the training, or what services you have. And here's Victor with his $5,000 check. He put one a while back together with me, and you know, it does work. This is a website for long-term investing. So this is not earned income. This is investment income, which is totally different than earned income tax-wise. And for those people that have high-paying jobs, and their accountant says, well, that's great that you want to go do all this, but you can't write any of this stuff off, which would be horrible, then you need to work with your accountant and figure out what steps do I need to take to ensure that I can get write-offs on all these properties that I'm dealing with. Because there are people in that situation. And there's a matter of hours per year and different things that you have to show. But you want to work with your accountant to make sure you absolutely can provide that to your accountant so you can be deemed a real estate investor, even though you may be doing something else as well. Because if you don't get to that point, you can't write it off. If you can't write it off, it's kind of like, why are you doing it? It's very important. Okay? So, let's see here. The return on investment, if you were to get a $20,000 property, and I won't even let you do that now because prices have gone up and it's in too bad a neighborhood, you want to make sure on these low-end investments, see, we do the flipping of properties in high ends, we do the long-term stuff in lower in areas because they'll return, you know, a 36% return on investment within 12 months, which you can never do on a high-end property. And then you know, people will say, well, why would you ever buy something on a high-end property in California if you get a better return there? Those properties will never go up in value like the properties in a high-end area like California. You're not going to see $100,000 in 5 years in this property in equity. It's just not going to happen ever. But you're going to see good, stable income. So really what we're talking about is rounding out your portfolio when you have time to do different things in money and whatever. Okay? People say, what's better? All of it if you can manage to do it in a lifetime, you know. But you're not going to do it all in 1 year, so it takes time to, you know, build this stuff up. Okay. So again, NH Big, 100,000 to 6 million, high-end flip properties, low-end 50 to say, 30 to say 100,000. That's what we work on there. And then we've got Santa Barbara Computing Services, of which I did at the university for 26 years. My claim to fame there is that a student of mine and I created ucsb.edu, the main campus website. Wow. Thank you. And that was fun. Everybody was saying, well, you guys are nothing. What are you doing? Why isn't the main computer center doing this? And I said, I guess we're something now. That, we networked all lecture halls back to my networking per hall on campus. So I've been doing this side business for years. Michael's really good at computer support. He's making some beautiful websites right now. And I've said to him, you know, where's your credibility for doing computing support? And he pulls up the picture of him when he was 2 years old on the keyboard and said, well, there you go. How long have you been doing it? Okay. So now we also have a business website, personal power project, about going green, solar, electric cars, wind, far infrared heating for your home, your bed, all that kind of stuff. A lot of good information on that site. And recently, you know, I mentioned that we had a Nissan Leaf, and I traded it in for a Chevy Volt, and I've had actually, well, this is an old picture. Right now, and that was 3 weeks. We're up to 2 months now, and it's about 13,800 views, okay? So that's like pretty good for putting something up on YouTube. And good for your advertising for other things, okay? But I had lots of comments on this, and people asked me questions. Why would somebody with an all-electric car go back to a gas car? And my reply was, you need to do in life what works for you, not what everybody tells you. Because when everybody's trying to get you on their bandwagon, one size doesn't fit all. You need to find out what works for you at this point in time. And this point in time will change, especially if you're young, Carlos. Because over a lifetime, whatever works for you now absolutely won't work for you later, because your taxes will change, your income will change, your marriages will change, and whatever happens, your life will change. All these things can happen. So you really, each stage of life, need to do what works for you right now. And quit letting people drive you crazy about, well, you should do this and you should do that. Because I guarantee you, asset protection people come along and say, you need an LLC, you need an S-Corp, you need to get some land trust, and you need to do all this stuff next Thursday. And give me a credit card, and let's get moving. It's like, no, you don't probably really need this depending on what you're doing. You need to figure out what works for you. That's going to take a lot of research. You'll ask the same question to the same person 10 times, and eventually, when I do that, they go, oh, well, why didn't you ask me that in the first place? And I reply, because I was too stupid to even know the question to ask. But now that I think I've got the answer I want, I need to go ask 10 more people 10 times, and once I'm through with that research, I can actually do something. So this is not, you know, bam, and you go. You need to do your research. And the reason that we left the Nissan Leaf is because it went 80 miles on a charge. My wife and I, Maria, out there doing the registration, took off to Hearst Castle just as an adventure to see, well, what's it like to find charge stations and actually make it on a trip. That video's up there too. It took 2 years to get to 9,000. And the trip was kind of exciting on the way, but when it was time to come home, it was like, we gotta go look for all those charge stations again and do that? So like, I don't want to do that. It was just a pain. So, you know, and at that time I said, I would never get a car that had both electric and gas, because now you've got twice as many problems, okay, and twice as much maintenance. And if you look at this car, which is exactly what we've got right now, this Chevy Volt, Maria said, are you serious? Because she said, well, we know we're almost going into our last year of the 3-year lease on the Leaf, and we need new tires. And I said, new tires? Really? I want to wait until we give it back and give it back to beat up ball tires and get something new. And she goes, yeah, but I'm driving the most. I'm going up and down 154, which is really scary. And I said, oh, that's true. Okay, well, rather than replace the tires, let's replace the car. She went, what? And I said, with a Chevy Volt, the 2016. I thought you said you'd never do that. Well, if you lease the car, you're not going to have to deal with maintenance. Maintenance free. And then every 3 years or sooner, you just go give it back to them. Okay? And I'm thrilled. I think it's a great car. We drove 2,000 miles before we ever put a drop of gas in that car. And some people only put gas in there 2 or 3 times a year. All depends on how far you drive it. They say it gets 50 miles on a charge, which is more than the older models. We left with a full charge on the top of San Marcos Pass. And by the time we got down to the bottom, it was up to 70 miles on the charge. Now they told us on the Nissan Leaf, don't ever charge it 100% because that's really bad on the battery. You should only go charge it 80%. And we're like, yeah, sure, okay, it's not my car. And we handed it back in. They went, oh, we see you charge it 100% all the time. We're going to ding you on that. I said, you can have the car, you know. Actually, we went to the Chevy dealer, and I said, well, we got 2 years, a 3-year lease. We got 1 year left. What do we do? And they just said, it's easy. We'll just buy it from you. Here, take our Chevy Volt. We'll take your Nissan Leaf, and out the door we went. So what are they doing on this car? They're letting you only charge it The only way you can charge it is 50 miles. But the truth is, if you go downhill like we did and we had regenerative braking, there's another 20 or probably 30 miles that this car can charge up to. You can never do it with a charger, but you can certainly do it going downhill. Okay? Great car. Love it.
I have one question.
Yes.
I saw in the black, it says, in the black bold, it says why lease not purchase. C
Yeah.
Corp write-offs, but I didn't understand the no tracking.
Okay, so here's what I hate, and that's wasting my time. Okay? What I'm asking from you today is to give me the most important thing you have in your life, and it's not your money. It's your time. What happens when your time's gone?
Can't get it back.
Even worse than that. You're dead. We're gone. There's no coming back, at least in this life. You know, who knows what happens when we get recycled, right? I don't want to waste my time accounting for where I went, how many miles, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to deal with that. So I talked to my accountant and I said, can I just write off the full lease that I do per year? He said, well, if you're in an S Corp, then you can, and this will function for your NH big business because you want to do stuff in California, and you're going to have to pay the $800 a year, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, S Corp, NH big Inc., let's do that. So that's how you get away from having to track all that stuff.
Those hours and yes,
I want to go there. You know,
miles and stuff.
our time is the most important thing we've got. Carlos,
What's the average, lease payment for,
I
based
need-
on your experience?
think about this, with the Nissan Leaf, because of the rebates, it was $200 a month for the lease of the Nissan Leaf, okay? Federal credit, $7,500, state credit, $2,500. Within a month, we got a $2,500 check back from the state of California. And if you consider that $2,500 and your payments at $200 a month, that really means the first year you drove it for free, and the next 2 years you paid $200 a month. Okay?
Yeah.
No maintenance, all free. In fact, I said to Michael, Michael, you're doing this business where we've set up an LLC for you, we're getting properties in there, gonna get 4 in there eventually. It's got 2 right now. But it's not costing you to buy them, it's not costing you to repair them. And at the end of the year, the IRS is gonna come back to you and go, oh, great, you got some income, you didn't get rich, but you got some. But you owe us $2,500 on that income. And I said, would you rather give that $2,500 to the IRS? Or would you rather give it to the Chevy dealer or the Nissan dealer and lease a car and write that off on your business so that you never have to worry about maintenance or anything? You got a brand new car every 3 years.
So you got all the rebates and stuff on the lease?
On the lease, can you believe that? And in fact, Maria came back and said, well, Dan, okay, this is great, we're gonna go ahead and do the Chevy Volt, but they say you can only do one of those state rebates every 3 or 5 years or something like that. We were into our 2nd year, bam, it came in the mail. Another rebate, it was like $1,500 check, it was a little bit less. But it depends on now, they changed the rules a little bit, depends on what your income is and different things, and you can get anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, $5,000, depending on what state and where you are. So, it's something you want to check into. Leasing is absolutely, in my opinion, the way to go. In fact, when we got ready to turn the Leaf back in, we had a problem with it. And we took it in there for our free service, and they said, well, we got a little problem here. I said, what's that? And they said, do you live up in the mountains? I said, yeah. And they go, you had some rats or mice crawl in there and eat up the wiring on your car, and it's going to cause blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, actually, that's a problem, but it's not my problem,
Exactly.
because we're getting rid of the car. Don't fix it, we won't pay for it. We just traded it in, and, they'll deal with it, they'll figure out what they need to do, and it'll get fixed and go back out on the market. Yes?
So $200 a month is starting the 2nd year, and it's mostly electric, no gas?
It's 100% electric, the Nissan Leaf is. Okay, now this is gas and electric, which means as you're driving, and there's actually buttons in here, you can choose. I want electric only, I want gas only, I want it here, I want it there, wind, whatever. So when it happens, you don't even hear the engine on this. We had a Prius, that thing went back out of the driveway, out of our garage, absolutely quiet, and as soon as you press the gas pedal, it was, it's like, a Prius, okay, great. This thing, when the engine kicks in, the engine doesn't drive the car, it charges the battery. You don't even hear it. There's a slight little, you have to really listen to it. Did it kick in? Is it working? And you hardly ever need it. So it's a great car. Now, we got the top of the line, so it was about $3-something per month, but you could probably get it for $2 or $2.50 depending on what features you had in the car.
Oh, I don't need any features, just.
When you get more money, you want more write-offs, you will, promise you. It's like, you're gonna give it to the IRS or give it to yourself.
Right, myself.
But you'll know when you get there. It's each person's individual that you need to do the research to figure it out. Okay?
Dan, let me ask you a technical question.
Yes.
How does this compare with a gasoline burning car and mile per mile? What kind of cost are we talking about? To fuel a gasoline car versus
Our dashboard says 250 miles per gallon because we're just not using gas. And that's as far as the thing will go in the car to show you that. And again, they said that most people might go 1,000 miles before they use gas because it all depends on what your driving habits are. We drive strictly in town all the time and don't go more than 36 miles per day. So the moment we get home, we let our solar from SolarCity charge the car with a 220-volt charger, which, by the way, is less expensive than 110. It's not a huge difference, but it is. And so it depends on your driving. Some people could go a whole year and never put a drop of gas in there, and they say, well, if you do that, you need to put an additive in there because your gas will get funky, and, people actually do that. So it depends.
Well, maybe another question would be the energy, gas energy equivalent. In other words, you don't get electricity free even from solar.
Right. It's about, if you look at the Tesla site, they say it's about $5 to fill up electricity-wise that car to go 200, 250 miles.
Wow.
Now, you're not going to get gas for $5 to go 250 miles. No matter how bad the future gets, and gas prices will go up until electric cars start to outpace gas cars in a big way. In another 10 years, they're going to have another huge, never going back, never ending gas problem because everybody, I don't need gas anymore, it's all electric. And that's going to happen.
Well, this $5 is based on the energy from natural gas power plants.
Well, there's
But
that.
how do you get
Yeah.
around the highway taxes?
Yeah,
and that?
well, that's a whole good
Which goes
question.
on the gas.
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, we charge at home from
Right.
solar, so we're not using any of the stuff that you're talking about as far as power companies out there generating
Do you have
electricity.
your own
for people.
battery banks?
We're going to, that's the next step, and we're going to be talking about
So
this.
you go on the grid and it comes back.
Yeah, right now what happens is during the day, it's going to us and the grid, and
Yeah.
then at night, the grid gives it back to us.
But there's a cost for it.
Oh,
They
yeah.
take off,
Oh, yeah.
they don't,
Yeah,
they
but
buy it from you here.
it just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like, our bill went from $400 a month to about $200 a month, locked in for 20 years.
Your electricity
The
bill.
electricity bill. It's locked in SolarCity for 20 years. So as everybody else's rates go up, I mean, think about it. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, what was the average electric bill people had?
$30.
And what is it now, 300?
Uh,
So if it was 300 and you said, okay, 20 or 30 years from now, 10 times that, 3,000 a month, then people go, there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey,
Stick around.
stick around.
If you're lucky.
Because they're already happy.
So, it's going to happen, and what's going to happen is, I wanted to also show you the reason this stuff is happening. If you go take a look, and we're going to talk very briefly about this because I got to get out of here. This is the good news. Elon Musk created Tesla, SpaceX, SolarCity is his cousin, Linda Reeve. He's the biggest stockholder, financer, promoter of SolarCity. Okay, Elon is. That's the good news. The bad news, we've got people out there like Warren Buffett, who I've always thought, man, this guy is just a genuine family man, a nice guy, I really like him. How could somebody be that wealthy and be such a nice guy? Wrong. Totally wrong. He owns the biggest power, utility company in Nevada that's shutting down all the jobs in Nevada because they're stopping solar. SolarCity had to lay off 500 of their workers. All the other solar companies are backing out of Nevada. This is happening nationwide, and if you go click on this, you can see the different states that are being attacked by gas and utility companies and everything else. California barely got through that whole thing to some degree, but the answer is batteries and getting off the grid completely, and the day's going to come. How do you pronounce that? Coach Brothers?
Coke.
Koch brothers, it's actually Koch brothers, okay? Koch brothers, if you take a look at those links, and they're on the webpage that I talked about, back on our website, all kinds of things going on where they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna shut down those subsidies. If you were getting $2,500 or $7,500, we're gonna lobby, and we're gonna beat you at the polls and at the elections, and we're gonna cut you off to the knees, and you're not gonna get any of that stuff anymore because we got the oil, and we got the power. Well, guess what? Maybe today, but not tomorrow. Yes.
One of my friends was putting solar panels on his house, and he was getting these rebates. My other friend said, I don't like that because I'm paying for your solar panels, because you're getting a rebate from my taxes.
And you know what the answer
So,
is?
yeah, go ahead.
And the answer to that is, if any of you in here or any place out in the world think that the oil companies aren't getting subsidies,
Well, yeah, that's the
Do you
big
know how
problem.
much, do you know how much the oil
Land
subsidies
itself.
are?
no.
$2 trillion
Yeah.
worldwide.
So your
Oh, I
friend,
know, and farm subsidies,
Yeah.
government, everybody's
Yeah.
pocket.
yeah, so if you go back to your friend and say, hey, look, that's true, but the subsidies for that is probably way less than all this other stuff that's going on. And wouldn't you rather have subsidies go to something that's going to create a planet that's going to be good for you and your children, as opposed to choking and killing them?
Personally, I want the government out of everybody's business and
I
out
do
of
too.
everybody's pocket.
I do
I
too.
think we'll progress. If
And-
you want
and
the
you know-
government's involved.
And you know who's gonna help us get the government out of everybody's pocket? Backup batteries, solar, right now they can fight, but as soon as we get the backup batteries, the most they can do is come back and go, well, we're gonna at least put some tax on your property, and that's how we'll get you. Well, they can put the tax on there today, but they can get voted out of office tomorrow. And enough people get out in the streets and say, hey, that's not forever, that's for right now. They're out of there, I'm putting my vote out. So, it's really up for us to be proactive and get educated and understand that when the votes come up, not just for the president, Congress, mayors, whatever, we have a chance to vote, it's just coming out of our pocket if we don't. It's that simple, I mean, think about thousands of years, how did they build the pyramids? Slaves. How did they build the Roman Empire? Slaves. How are they going to build the next thing? Well, we've all been slaves to taxes, okay? And when they automate things and they have robots doing all this stuff, whoever has the most robots will have the most slaves, okay? Where is it all going? As much as you can grab your own personal power, your own personal freedoms is what you need to be doing. Automate, delegate, do everything you can to protect the hard work and the money that you've created for yourself and your family or whatever, And if you're going to give something back, I mean, some people came to me and said, hey, Dan, sure you went out and you leased that Chevy Volt, but you turned your other car in early, you probably didn't get the best deal when you went in there. And I said, you know what? The best deal to me is like, if I'm going to give something up, I'd much rather give it away to somebody local in my local economy than give it to a nonprofit organization to go to some third world country where those people will never even see a dime of it because it's going to get ripped off and stolen all the way through the process until there's nothing left when it gets to that in person. I want to know you got it. So that's my donation. If I didn't get the best deal, great, so what? It's a write-off.
How long does it take to charge when it goes?
It takes about 4 hours to fully charge this car on 220. Or 8, 10, 12 on 110. And 220 charger in your garage costs like $500 to install. Yeah, it's cheap.